Welcome back. You're listening to The Human Resource. My name is Pandy Pridemore, and I'm actually doing this podcast in Cincinnati, Ohio at the ICRC-TV station. If you're listening to me, then you must be doing HR. Or you're interested in HR, or you want to get into HR and you're just not real sure how to do it. Well, you know what? This show is actually geared for you. In fact, this whole show is driven by our listeners and our viewers. The Human Resource USA focuses on compliance and regulatory topics, but if you've got a topic you want to talk about or something that you're interested in, just send it in. I would love to listen to it. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. I need to know what our viewers and our listeners need, because our whole show, for the number of years we've been doing this, is only here because you've driven it. Well, today's show is going to go a different little direction because, let's talk about it. Everybody I even mention human resources to has to come up with the talent management issue. How do we hang on to our employees? It's hard enough to find a good one. And then when you get a good one, how in the world are we going to keep them? Well, my guest today is the CEO and founder of the International Chambers Group, Ron Chambers. And Ron and I have known each other for a number of years. It's been really fun to watch his business grow because he was not where he is today when I met him a number of years ago. But what's really cool about Ron is he's like me. He works with companies and employees all over the country here in the U.S. And because of that, we have learned so much about what our strengths are and why we do what we do. So, Ron, thank you so much for coming into the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I want you to have fun.
I'm going to have fun.
Okay.
I'm a fun kind of guy.
For those of you who don't know Ron's in a band, and so he has that persona.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but okay.
Well, let's tell our listeners, what does the International Chambers Group actually do?
We really are just a provider of supplemental and unique benefits. I work a lot with benefits brokers and their clients, and I work directly with companies sometimes as well.
Yeah, and that's really what I wanted you to come in and be on the show today. So many HR people that I talk to say, Pandy, we've got some great people. We just don't want to lose them. But what's the key? They struggle sometimes, Ron, with knowing how do they differentiate themselves from the competitors, who the companies that may steal their employees. And then they're looking and saying, am I even competitive with them? How can I keep my employees happy and focused on what we're paying them to do, right? Yeah. When you walk in the door, are you excited? And you and I both know it's really hard sometimes to be excited about coming to work. But if you know that the company's taking care of you as an employee, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Sure. Well, I think there's several different things. People don't just change jobs for money anymore.
Oh, gosh, no.
But that is important. Culture is huge.
Yeah.
And, people, if they like where they work, they're more likely to come to work, even if they're not even feeling the greatest some days, Yeah. So I think that's really important. And the other thing is benefits. And so over the last couple of years, a lot of things have happened in the world, right, with COVID and all the things that are related to that. I always say that, the same old benefits aren't going to be enough to attract and retain the top talent that you need.
Well, and when you say that, you're talking about medical, dental, vision, life.
Yeah, the core stuff.
Maybe short-term, long-term disability. Yep. Everybody stays focused in that area. 401k, they stay focused on those core. But you represent some really unique items that are becoming more and more essential to that package.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there's the world has changed in many different ways, but I represent four products, really, is what I do personally with the Chambers Group. One of those is identity theft protection.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, stay with that one.
Okay.
Stay with that one, because if I remember correctly, our pre-show, you had some really interesting stories on this one.
I did.
Yeah, start with that.
Okay, so Just before that, though, identity theft is not just about your credit cards and your bank accounts. Most people liken it to that. And that's a part of it, but if somebody steals your debit card number or your bank account number, that's really more just theft. It's attached to you, but it's not really your identity. But your personal identifiers are like your social security number, your birthday, your driver's license number, a passport, or your medical ID, and those kinds of things. Those are personal identifiers, and you have to protect those. And unfortunately, there's a lot of data breaches. They happen almost daily, and we can't do much to stop that as a person. And my information is everywhere. If you think about all the places you ever worked, went to school, every doctor, every insurance company.
Well, and the HR people that are listening, they all understand that their responsibility is to maintain all that information locked.
That's right.
Personal files, even applications, they're to be locked because of so much of that information. And quite frankly, again, for as long as I've been doing this, so much information has started coming off of employment applications.
Right.
Because of having too much on there. And think about our medical paperwork. So much is being done online now. We're not even taking applications for medical now. But ID theft goes even deeper than that.
It does. And so getting back to what you asked me originally now, finally, is I want to give you a quick story about a local person here in our area, a young lady who got pulled over by the police for a routine traffic violation. When they ran her driver's license, they always do, right? They get your license and your
that's standard.
Insurance and so forth and your registration. Standard. They ran her driver's license and found that she had 2 felony warrants in her name for trafficking heroin. And so,
okay, this isn't funny, but what, heroin?
Heroin, yeah.
Okay, let's just go to the top.
Now these are felony warrants out that she doesn't know about, of course, and so she tells the police, listen, I've never been arrested in my life. There's some misunderstanding or you've got the wrong person. And they said, well, this is your name, this is your driver's license number and your birthday, et cetera.
They had all of it.
They had it all in their system, and she had it on her driver's license. So she said, I didn't do that. That's not me. And they said, well, you'll have to straighten that out, but we're taking you in. It gets worse. She had her 2 kids in the back seat.
Ron, no kidding?
She had her 2 little kids, one's 3, one's 5, in the back seat of the car, so they called child services. They came and took her children and arrested her.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So just think for a second, what does that have to do with credit or finances of anything? Doesn't have nothing to do with that. So it took the police department about 7 days to figure out that this wasn't her.
No, wait. 7 days.
7 days.
Where is
she?
2
departments.
Where is she right now? No, where was she during that 7 days?
In jail.
They held her for 7 days because of identity theft?
Well, yeah, because in their minds and their records say that she is a criminal.
Where are the kids?
The child services came and took her children that day on the side of the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is a bad story.
It is a bad story.
And it kind of fits with me. What were they thinking? Okay, right? She didn't do this on purpose.
No.
It's nothing she did wrong.
Somebody stole her identity. It was a woman about her same age, got a driver's license from some other criminals that had her picture on it, but it had this young lady who got arrested's information on it. It was basically like a fake driver's license. But the technology is so good, it's got the hologram and everything. The police have a hard time deciphering that it's not the real thing. So anyway, they took her to jail. She spent a couple of days in the local jail where the police, were from that arrested her. Then they sent her down to the county jail in downtown Cincinnati, where she spent the remainder of the time until they figured out that it wasn't her.
Okay, so what a story. Let's put this in perspective for the HR people that are listening. Come on, that's 7 days that your employee just disappeared.
Right.
Do you think her one phone call, when she's got 2 kids that just got taken off to child services, her one phone call was to her employer? I doubt very much if that was the top on her list. And your attendance policy was probably going. So I'm going to say that she probably had some questions as to whether she had a job at the end of this. And this was none of her fault.
Well, that's a good thing. I hadn't mentioned this to you before, but she worked for a local, very well-known company who could not let her in the building until she got her record straightened out because she's a criminal now.
Gosh. ID theft is this package or this whatever you're talking about here. It's called what? ID Shield. Okay, ID Shield. Listeners, this is something that you can offer to your employees that employers don't have to contribute to. You said it was like a monthly fee.
Yeah, you pay a flat fee every month. You can set it up for a payroll deduction like some other voluntary benefits.
And voluntary means it's the employee's choice whether they want it or not, and they're paying the premium.
That's correct, yeah. And so, there's other options that we won't get into today where employers can contribute, but it's really, there's a lot of products on the market. ID fraud is the second largest consumer complaint with the FTC every year for 16 years running.
Okay, so let me throw you a scenario. I'll bet anything that somebody listening to this show has seen the amount of or has received a fraudulent unemployment claim. Someone, either the person never worked for your company, or maybe the person's still working for your company. Would ID Shield have caught that?
That's a good question. Because what happens if you have the service, it monitors all of your personal identifiers.
Okay.
All the things I mentioned: social, birthday, driver's license, etc., passports, insurance numbers, your bank accounts, credit cards, yes, all that stuff. It monitors all those things. So if anybody tries to use it in some way, buy it or sell it, it's activity on that file.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Okay. So the service is monitoring all of those identifiers and picks up that activity in real time, immediately alerts you that there's activity with one of those identifiers.
So the employee themselves might find out at the exact same time the employer's finding out that somebody's stealing their identity for unemployment claims.
They would probably find out sooner.
Oh gosh. Yeah. That is absolutely fantastic, because I cannot tell you how much time it sucks from a company for an HR person or someone in that capacity to be calling the unemployment agency or faxing something to them, and then calling the employee and saying, hey, someone is taking your identity. And the productivity of that employee has just completely bottomed out.
It's very stressful. It's a bad situation because, if it's your bank card or your bank account, a personal account, there's a federal law in place that says the bank has to make you whole again if you report fraud on one of your accounts within their timeline, of course.
Okay.
But when it's your identity and it's something else, there's nothing there. It's up to you. So you have to contact the Social Security Administration or the unemployment office, and we don't have time to get into it, but I couldn't even figure out how they could get away with unemployment fraud because somebody has to contact the employer. Right? That I'm filing unemployment with this particular company.
Yeah, and that's where the paperwork comes into that company and says, oh, Pandy's quit your job, and she says there was a lack of work, and yet Pandy's sitting over in the office.
Exactly.
I've had business owners have unemployment paperwork show up at the company. And literally, I'm the owner. How can I be quitting?
Yep.
And that's so scary. That's terrifying. Yeah. To think that they've got Social Security numbers and all the personal information to do that.
Yeah, and I've had CEOs and CFOs and owners of companies have their identity stolen as well in other ways too, not just that way, but in many different ways. So here's what I tell people: listen, the bad news is there's no way to prevent the crime. You cannot stop theft or prevent theft of data. It's never going to happen because there are people all over the world who their full-time job is trying to hack into systems.
Yeah, but who is that person? What are they thinking? I mean, who is that person that has nothing better to do than to be so despicable to be stealing people's information?
That's a whole other conversation. It's out there. It's definitely out there, right, all over the globe. So you're never going to be able to stop the crime. So it's always better to have something in place to protect yourself and be aware of things as they happen, because the sooner you find out about it, the easier it is to resolve it. If it goes on for a great length of time, you have a lot of mess to clean up.
Well, and give me some feedback, because I know you've heard it from the HR people that who've started this and offered this to their employees. They're getting really positive feedback that they are going the extra mile, or that they're thinking about things for their employees that they don't even think about themselves.
Sure. Well, people are concerned about certain things. This is one of them, because it's so rampant. Yeah. When we started offering a product, it was back in 2003. This was the very first company to offer an identity theft product in the marketplace.
Oh, really?
So when you started talking about identity fraud in 2003, most people went, what's that? They didn't even know what it is. Do you think everybody knows what identity fraud is now? Of course they do.
Absolutely.
It's just run rampant over the years. So when you bring something in to offer your employees, even at their choice, they understand now that this is something that they probably can't prevent on their own. And when it happens, it becomes, everybody knows somebody that's been a victim, and what a big problem that was to resolve.
Yeah.
So it's for a company, you're looking for ways to help your employees, and as a result, that helps your company, because obviously they work for you, and if they're focused and healthy, and stress ravages the body. We all know that now. Stress is a bad thing. And do you think it might be stressful if getting pulled over by the police and finding out there's a warrant out for your arrest?
Let me just say this. If someone decided to take my children outside or take them away from me, God help them. This has been so much fun. Ron, how do they find you? Your website?
Well, the website is gochambersgroup.com.
Say it again.
gochambersgroup.com.
It's been so much fun talking to you. This is Ron Chambers with me, Pandy Pridemore, on The Human Resource. Thanks for listening. Catch us again.